and welcome to the Healing Word of the Week podcast with me, Marissa of Marissa Moments, where you might get triggered into seeing your own reflection, but it's to reconnect you to yourself and awaken the divinity within. So prepare for laughs, resonance, and accountability through true stories, channeled messages, prophetic words, and everything in between. So I hope you're ready because guess what? Here we go. Okay, y'all. So this week I felt compelled to talk about anger, A-N-G-E-R, anger. And I actually did a tickety talk on it just the other day. Go look it up or not. Doesn't matter. You're here now. That's what matters. Anyway, so I want to talk about anger is because, the reason I want to talk about anger is because I have experiences with anger every single day of my life, right? Truth be told, I have a very, very bad temper. But I've managed to handle it in such a way where I don't let it get the best of me most of the time, right? Because there's that caveat, right? That, where's the spoon? Sometimes it does get the best of me still. And I'm very aware of it, and I try to be mindful, and I try to work on it. And that's the best we can do in any way, shape, or form. As long as we're aware of things, as long as we continue to work on them, then that is the best that anyone can do, right? Now, the reason I want to talk about anger is because there was a scenario that happened to me just earlier this week, just depending upon when you're listening to this, because time isn't real, but where somebody called me and I believe it was a wrong number, right? And if you watch Dave Chappelle, I always have to keep referring back to this because this is a skit that kind of cracks me and my husband up, right? It's the I don't like when people play on my phone skit that he does where basically, long story short, spoiler alert, where this woman gets a phone call, which happens to be a wrong number. But she believes that this person is basically playing on her phone, looking for her man and all this type of stuff. And then she goes to this poor woman's house, essentially attacks her and all these types of things. And then she ends up locked up just to find out that the person that was actually, behind the scenes with her man was the person who was sitting right next to her, not this poor woman who was on the opposite end of this line based off of a wrong number. Now, it was actually funny when it happened. You have to go Google it, YouTube it, whatever it is, right, to watch it because the skit is funny. But the reality behind it, not so much. It's kind of more tragic, right? But, tragedy and comedy, they kind of intermix, right? But anyway, so this person calls and it's like, who called me? All these types of things. And I'm like, I didn't call. So, what have you. And again, long story short, this woman essentially like low-key snaps on me. And I'm just like, I'm not going to listen to it, obviously. And so I just wish her a great day and I hang up the phone. Did I hang up on her? Yes, I did. Did she call back? Yes, she did. Did she call back a couple of times? Yes, she did. What did I do? I actually answered the first time and I introduced myself as my business because it was my business line. And, she told me that she was going to report me. Right. I just I held back my chuckle, y'all. If you know me, I carry a lot of joy in my heart. So I find humor in a lot of different things because I understand and know at this stage of my life that things just are not that serious. Right. We often put a heavy weight on things just because we want to feel like how much can you lift, bro? You know what I mean? So many times we want to feel like, oh, we're accomplishing so much. We are the Atlas having to hold up the world on our shoulders because we're creating these burdens that don't even truly exist, but we need to have some sort of conflict or drama. So that way we can go back and tell that kind of like I'm doing right now, but a little bit different, right? So let's get back to that anger. Now, the reason I shared that story with you and the reason I shared it on my Tickety Talk is because sometimes there are those of us, and I'll say us because I include myself in this, that hang on to anger just to hold on to something, right? It's almost like you don't know what to do when your hands are empty. What's that saying? Idle hands are the enemy's toy or playground or whatever it is, right? So sometimes when people don't know how to deal with their emotions, then the easiest resort is anger and rage and resentment and all those things, because I've mentioned this before and I will mention it time and time again until spirit, God, Gaia, ancestors, angels, and saints change the narrative within me, because I am subject to change. I am open to growth and new positions and viewpoints and all those types of things. But all of that to say is that anger is easy. It's so easy. A child can do it, literally. Have you ever observed a child that's frustrated? They're not necessarily going to become eloquent in their words and start expressing, well, mother, father, I am angry because of I want a bottle. Or mother, father, I am angry because this square peg is not fitting within this triangle piece of the puzzle like I want it to. No, they're not going to communicate that way. So instead, what do? They're more likely to bang things. They're more likely to hit things. They're more likely to growl even, right? And it's almost like archaic in a way, right? We resort back to the most innate, natural, organic things. Because why? It's easy. You want to know what's not easy? Is to get to the root of things, is to feel through the pain and acknowledge the fact that we are even in pain, to acknowledge the fact that we are angry, right? There's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is when we choose to hold on to our anger and then project it onto other people. What is wrong is when we choose to hang on to that anger and turn it into our actual identity, right? And then again, we in turn project it onto other people. You see that outcome? It's very similar all across the board, because I've yet to come across someone who's angry, who identifies with the emotional response of just angry as their entire state or of their being, right? I've yet to come across somebody who exists within that state of existence and is nice to other people, right? No, I have yet to come across that person, because most people that hang on to that anger and choose to identify with that as their actual personality will project it onto someone else. They will take it out on someone else. They will find that scapegoat. They will become that bully. They will punch that hole in the wall. Even walls sometimes aren't safe, right? They will throw things. And when I say they, I mean me too. Right? Because I am no exception to any of these rules. The reason why I'm able to communicate these messages with you and be able to be a divine channeling source of wisdom is because I've actually experienced it. Because for me, I don't know about you, but the best way for me to comprehend something is to actually have gone through it, to have actually experienced it or seen it, or have somebody else that's extremely close to me have gone through it. Because otherwise, why do I care? At least that's just me, right? But we're talking about anger. And the reason why I feel like God has me saying these things and putting this notion on your mind is because we need to get to a place and space again of becoming mindful of our own personal anger, our anguish, our angst. Yes, you have been traumatized. Yes, you have been programmed in a negative way in lots of respects, but that can no longer serve as an excuse to carry out that anger onto future generations. We have to understand the importance of our roles within this ecosystem, within this universe, within this land, within this earth, is to become the ancestors of the future. What are we leaving behind for next generations? Are you only showing your children a reflection of your anger, of your anguish, just because your parents treated you poorly, or because you feel like life gave you a bad hand? Well, let me tell you something, and this is with nothing but love. Crap happens. It happens to all of us. The extent, yes, it definitely does vary. And I'm not saying any of this to negate any of your own personal experiences, because they are very real. They are very valid. But we have to get to a place and space where we can work through them. Because otherwise, when we allow that anger and that anguish and that resentment and all of those negative feelings that lay heavy within our souls, within our existence, then we have nothing left to carry forward to the future except darkness. And if you're listening to me, especially if you've been listening this long, you're already on a healing journey. You're already identifying the healing within other people. You're already recognizing something within yourself that you feel like maybe this isn't the way to be, right? And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with you, right? Because we also have to understand that it is a very complex notion sometimes, right? Like we want to get to a place and space of healing, which is ongoing. But at the same time, we have to also make peace with where we are, because when we make peace with where we are, that means we're being mindful and we're acknowledging that there is something that needs to be worked on. But I'm not going to keep going on and on. The bottom line is this. If you feel that anger and that darkness trying to take over your spirit, your soul, then that is when you need to reach out. And I'm not saying reach out to me because maybe I don't have the credentials for it. Yeah, I have a BA in psychology, but I definitely don't have no doctorate degree. I have life experience degree, right? And so the things that I could show you wouldn't necessarily be the book versions of things. And everyone is different with what they need. Maybe you need to talk to someone, a therapist, a neutral party that can help you build a toolbox that will better allow you to handle these moments of potential outburst, these moments of anger and rage and resentment, different ways to kind of break things down so that we can better understand ourselves and not just continue to project that darkness onto other people and then wonder why the world is a crap show, right? Because we have to take ownership of our own personal existence. And by doing so, we are in fact changing the world and we are changing the future. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying you're not going to have your moments where you backslide. I'm not saying that you're not going to snap on people. I'm not saying any of those things because Lord knows I still do. Or at least I do in my mind. And that's coming a long way, right? Now I can chuckle and hang up, right? As opposed to previously when I would have went tit for tat, toe for toe, right? So we also have to acknowledge the points where we make any type of progress. I actually had to pause to get that word from Spirit, and there's like a plane flying. So this planes flying for me right now, the signs and symbol that I receive from it is that we are moving ahead. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're going backwards, forwards, whatever it is, but you are actually moving ahead. Listening to people like myself, and it's not to feed my ego to say that, it's saying that you want more for yourself, you want more for your family, you want more for your friends. And this doesn't have to just be about being a parent. This doesn't have to be just about being an aunt, an uncle, or whatever. This is about doing better for yourself. And then in turn, doing better for the world around you. Now, I know that feels heavy sometimes, but it's the God's honest truth. That is what we're doing. We are changing the world by adjusting and changing ourselves so that way we can move closer towards our truest, most authentic, joyous, divine selves. And the best way to get there is by acknowledging the anger, processing it, and moving through it. And listen, sometimes you're going to be angry, and that's okay too. But that's it for now. I got to go eat, so I'm going to end this. But I hope you're having the best day ever. And I hope that you will take some time this week, today, whenever, to kind of just stop and acknowledge where you are tapping into that anger a little bit more than usual, or you're doing it as a coping mechanism to avoid your actual feelings, right? Because feelings can be heavier than anger. Like I said in the beginning, anger is easy. Solutions, not necessarily as much, but we can get there. And once we get there, oh my, the joy that comes. But anyway, that's it for now. So have the best week ever, and I will talk to you next week. Remember, there is a new Word of the Week podcast that is released every single Monday morning at 5:55 a.m. Central Standard Time on most podcast streaming services. And when you look me up, remember it is a Word of the week, and or look up Marissa Moments, and that is Marissa with one S, because like I always like to say, there is only one me. So until next time, happy healing, apples and tomatoes, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.